to another episode of Hurrdat Hoppen. I'm your host, Dan Hoppen, and around April of 2023, I started seeing a bunch of social media posts and hearing a bunch of buzz about this pop-up called Nomadic Jacks. Now, the brunch dishes and burgers looked fantastic on Instagram, and then I started hearing comments from some of my chef friends that were like, dude, you gotta check this place out. You gotta check this place out. And when I finally did, I mean, they were right. The burgers, not just burgers, but all the food that coming out of this pop-up is just righteous. And I am very excited to talk to the owner today. This is Jack Heiman. He owns Nomadic Jacks. Jack, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Dan. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I likewise have heard a lot of things about you and what you do, and I honestly, like I said, I really appreciate this opportunity to give me a time to talk about a little bit of my stuff and my food and what I want to do with my adventures. So,
of course.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it here because pop-ups can be a little bit tricky to define because the menus change, the concept can change, the location can change. For someone, if someone is listening to this or watching this right now and they've not heard or experienced Nomadic Jacks yet, how would you define your concept?
I mean, overall, overall, I try and just do simple things done right. And I lived in Chicago for 5 years after I grew up here in Omaha, and back in like 2015, I moved to Chicago, wanted to further my own culinary adventures, and just kind of knew that like at that time, whatever, if I wanted to start doing something in Omaha, I felt that I needed to move somewhere where it was a little more competitive and just kind of learn a little bit how they do it. And you start out going to a city like Chicago where you think that you want to eat at all these like super fancy places and do all this stuff. And then you realize as a line cook making like $10, $11 an hour, you can't afford to go to all those places. So, but it was just like seeing like and talking to people in Chicago, and you go to these neighborhoods, it was always the people that did just a couple things really well that really lasted like, 20, 30 years. Where you'd see all these kind of like wild, over the top, fusion, like trying to incorporate all this other stuff, concepts, and they would fizzle out, and like, or their good food would be good the first 3 months, and after 6 months it would drop off, and then a year they're closed. So I like to, I mean, and I do say simple things done right, but it's like, and some people have told me, with my food, they're like, yeah, but like you look at the layers of flavors and all the things going on, and to me, it's just about executing the little things and being consistent with it. So yeah, so that's how I would describe it. So in American classic flair, pretty much whatever in my wheelhouse. I was raised in a bar and a diner, whatever as a kid. We weren't going to, if we went to Old Chicago or Texas Roadhouse, we were like, oh my gosh, yes, or so, yeah.
But I want people to know that this might be simple food done right, but it ain't bar food.
No,
not by any stretch. And if people want to experience it, I would most highly encourage you to follow Nomadic Jacks on Instagram. So Nomadic_Jacks. That's the best way to stay up to date. You're pretty good about updating week to week when and where you'll be available. For the time being, Millwork Commons, which is downtown right across from the baseball stadium. You can come down to Cross Drain, the draft room. And is it Wednesday through Saturday that you serve typically?
Yep. Yeah. So right now, currently we're doing Wednesday through Saturday. It's 4 p.m. until about a half hour before the Cross Drain Draftworks closes. And soon I'll be expanding to doing Tuesday nights as well down there. And then, and I've done like a brunch on a Saturday or so, but it just kind of like right now the number of employees at Nomadic Jacks is one, and I got a couple of friends that will like run food and help out and fill in, but it's really just me. So those days where I do brunch, I am in the kitchen from 5 a.m. until midnight, and usually, yeah. And it gets hard at times cause you'll get people that'll come in and I try and close from 2 to 4 p.m. to give myself a chance to reset or do something. And they'll come in and be like, hey, I really wanted one of your burgers. I'm like, all right, so it ends up being just the whole day. But, and then starting, I think we're going to do it President's Day, whatever, the 19th or whatever, we're going to try. And if something falls through and we don't, but the goal is to try and start doing pop-ups on Monday nights out at Jukes out in Elkhorn.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, trying to get moving around a little bit.
Cause a little bit more exposure.
Yeah, and it's like, and Millwork is going to be like the Blackstone district here in the next few years. Like it's once they get a couple more buildings down there fixed up. I mean, that whole area is so great, and like the heavy hitters of food that are in that building is pretty remarkable. But I'd like to try and I have a lot of, I mean, I grew up out in Elkhorn, most of my friends and family are all out in West Omaha. So trying to find an opportunity before I can acquire a food truck to let them try my food out West is kind of why we've kind of been talking about doing something with Jukes Ale Works out there. So.
I love it. And those guys from Jukes are so cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've known that. I mean, I've known those guys my whole life, and we were all tailgating at the same Husker parties, like when we were like kids, and like tailgating this, throwing footballs in the same, like I think like 13th and N or something like that, or whatever as a kid, or whatever. If I screwed that up, sorry, Lincoln. I don't know all your tailgating spots.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So
let's get into the menu, and we're going to hit on several menu items, but I mean, we have to start with burgers because they're the backbone of the menu.
Yeah.
And I found it so interesting because the first time I talked to you is you kind of said like you kind of wanted to get away from doing burgers. Like that was not the idea behind this concept, but every time you make a burger and you try it, you're just like, damn. That's a good burger. Like, I need to make this. Omaha has a lot of standout burgers, a lot of different types of burgers. When you think of like a Nomadic Jack's burger, what's your signature? What do you think sets your burger apart?
I mean, it's, so the Nomadic Jack burger, myself, whatever, the one that's, on my menu called the Nomadic Jack is just my favorite style of burger. It's grilled onions. I make my own pickles. It's got the mustard that we've done as a family recipe for a long time, and which is like a sweet and spicy mustard. And then it's just, a double smash patty American cheese, thick cut bacon. And I like it on a toasted brioche bun. It holds it together well. And I, season my meat with some secret seasonings and, do all that. But it's, it's just, double smash burger. And I like the, just the extra crust, the laciness of it. And so I think that's just kind of like why I've gotten my style of doing that. But
yeah, tell me, smash patties versus thick patties. This is a hot debate.
Yeah.
What puts you on team smash patty?
I mean, it's like you can if you do it right, which smash patties
a lot of people don't.
They do not, and I just had a conversation with a coworker in the kitchen. We were talking. He's like, "How are you doing this?" And it's just like a lot of people, they want to cook them too long. You get a little nervous and whatnot, but it's like when you're smashing them so thin or whatever, it's really only like a minute on each side you need on the burger. Most of my setup is really just getting the bun toasted and getting it laid out, there. So I already have usually the bun toasted and the condiments on top of the bun by the time I'm actually smashing the burger. But because I want it, quick and easy and coming out hot. And I think, it's like the way I've been able to do it, I've been, perfecting my craft over these last since October, I've been in cross train doing it every week, and it's just being consistent. And I also I hate to serve a bad burger, whatever. And it's just like, and like you were saying, I told you the whole thing of like me trying to get away from it. Yeah. I tried working in other avenues of food and other kitchens, and like even worked at the story I always tell everybody is I was working at an Asian fusion restaurant in Los Angeles, and I was the night bar manager, just doing fried food and whatnot. And then some of the servers one day was like, "Hey man, can you make me a burger?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, let me make you a special one." And so I made him that wasn't even a smash burger; it was just a double burger, and I overcooked one side so I could saute pineapple and jalapeno and put it in like the little bowl, and then put cheese on it, barbecue sauce, onion rings, which is essentially the Hawaiian Jack burger. And he was just like, "What is this?" And then every day there on out, I was making it for one employee. And I and then even I moved out to Colorado and wanted to work at this ski resort and learn saute side. I had a chef who had went to culinary school. I think he went to CIA in New York City. And so I was like so excited to have somebody to learn saute. And as soon as I started cooking burgers, they're like, "Oh, you're not going anywhere, man." And I'm like, "Well, come on." And they're like, "No, these burgers are incredible." And it's like, "Yeah, I know. I've been making these since I was 10 years old." Like, I don't so it's like, I couldn't get away from it. And now, it's like, now it's the main thing I do. So.
Now you've just stopped resisting it. You're just like, "Okay, burgers, like you are my life.
Yeah.
I'm cool with this."
Yeah. I mean, like slowly but sure, if I could grow a mustache, I would just assume the Bob's Burger roll and just be looking for my, I'd be looking for my Linda Belcher, every corner of Omaha. But so maybe one day.
I mean, I think you're doing the right thing. I'll just affirm you in that. And I think, your sales, winning the Omaha Burger Battle, which we'll talk about, like, you make a pretty darn good burger,
Thank
man.
you.
You're doing something right.
Thank you.
And I love that you do the smash patties, and you do them well, because so many places don't. They call it a smash patty, but really it's just two thinner burgers. But you get that nice, just smashed, that nice sear. It creates like, I love smash burgers because you just get more surface area for like those charred, caramelized, crusty bits, and it just imparts so much more flavor into it. How did you learn how to do that right?
I mean, one is, so when I was a kid, I've been eating smash burgers my whole life. I was fortunate to, there was an old bar, it's called Jerry's Bar in downtown Elkhorn. It's where Bella Vita used to be in that building, and Jerry's wife, Susie, was my godfather's mom, and she used to make Susie burgers, and they were griddle smash. She used to actually take a tortilla press and smash the burgers, beforehand. So they were just always griddle burgers, and so we'd go at their family, go swim at the pool, and they had the grill from the original restaurant, so we'd be eating those burgers poolside. And then when I lived in Chicago, I worked for a place called, I managed a burger hot dog joint in Ukrainian Village called Fatso's Last Stand.
Yes, I've been there.
Yeah. I managed that place.
That place is awesome.
Yeah, and I got to do that. And then it was what the general manager at the time, he would make, like, it was always kind of funny learning the process from him, but he would make the cooks, and he'd be like, make that smash burger, and he'd be like, all right, you screwed up this little detail, try it this way, and he'd make them eat it and be like, do you taste the difference? Do you see how to do that? And then just over time, I mean, I even look at the photos of the burgers I was taking back in April until now. And even now I'm like, why did you photograph that one? And so it's like, cause I'm still really new in my journey and how I'm actually like, cause I think for 1 month now, I've officially been just Nomadic Jacks or whatever with no other part-time jobs or anything. So it's kind of like, we're just at the start now. So I think they're only going to get better. And I even like, I got done Saturday after, like, last week was very busy and was a good week for me. And I could tell, like, there's a lot of people out there that they're like, I've been hearing about this burger for weeks. And I'm like, oh my God, it's kind of like, cause I'm just hiding in the kitchen, or whatever in the back cooking by myself. So I don't think about any of that stuff. And, I even sat down at the end of the day and ate one of my burgers. I'm just like, all right, man, I don't want to toot my own horn, but this thing's delicious. It's like, I'm like, oh man. So
sometimes you just need that reminder. Hey, you know what? I make some pretty good food, and I should get to try this too.
Well, and I think if like, because to me, it's one of those things where it's like, if I'm making a burger, because you can get tired of your own food real quick.
Oh, sure.
And I'll sit there, and after I'm like, people are like, how do you not eat burgers all the time? I'm like, I'm making them every single day. And then I'll sit down and I'll still eat one. I'll be like I even had on Wednesday, I had a friend come help. Shout out to my buddy Shelby. Always helps me out. One of my closest friends for the longest time or whatever. He's like literally the guy that he works more than anybody I know, but I call him and say, yep, I'll be there. Anyways, he helped me out. I made him the Popper Jack burger or whatever. That's the burger of the month for January. And I ate like half of it. I'm just like, all right, man, this thing's delicious. So it's just, I can't deny it, even myself. So I don't want to toot my own horn. Come down, try it for yourself. Talk trash to my face, if you will. It's fine. I said, but I was like, they are darn good burgers. Mm-hmm. So
now, one of the really cool things about burgers is they're really kind of a blank canvas. I mean, I don't even know how many different permutations of ingredient, sauces and anything that you can create. And I can only imagine, as someone with your culinary experience, not only with the number of burgers that you've eaten, but the number of restaurants that you've worked at, the number of places that you've eaten at, like your brain has to constantly be popping off about having different burger ideas. But like you mentioned, this is a one-man show. So you can't, especially as a pop-up, you can't have, a Red Robin's list of 25 burgers.
No,
you got to keep that thing down to 6 or 7. You got to keep it concise, and then you offer usually 1 or 2 burgers of the month. So as you've got the Nomadic Jack burger, like that's your staple. As you're building out the rest of your menu, your burger menu, how did you decide on these are the ones that I know are going to hit and they need to be on the menu week to week?
I mean, it's like, so my main 6 burgers would be, because I have the 6 main that stay on the menu, and it's, the Nomadic Jack, the Classic Jack, which is your, lettuce, tomato, onion, pickles with the, I say fancy sauce from, Step Brothers, just ketchup, mayonnaise mix or whatever. And then that one stays on there. And then the Cowboy is just, barbecue sauce, cheddar, onion rings. And then the Hawaiian is one because it has a story about kind of like how that was the burger, like I mentioned, from Los Angeles, where I just kept having to make this one burger. And then, the Sunrise is basically just a classic burger with an egg on top, but I sub out, the fancy sauce for my signature mustard. And then the last one, the Voodoo one, is just I got that one from that burger. I mean, a lot of it, I keep them on the menu if they provide a story or something, or they mean something to me. And the Voodoo burger was a burger that when I was working down in Austin, Texas, doing the bike taxi stuff at Austin City Limits, working at an event down there, I would ride my bike up South Congress, which is like a 2-mile long hill, basically. After working a 12-hour day, but they have Magnolia Cafe, 24-hour diner in Austin, Texas, which, I wish we had 24-hour diners here like Austin does. It's amazing. But they had a blackened Cajun seasoning blue cheese burger that I'd eat at the top of that hill, and it tasted incredible every time. So that's kind of how I've done it. And it's and as I'm kind of getting further on, like playing with the menu, because even right now the Popper Jack was the month of January. And everyone's like, "Oh, is it going to stick around? It's amazing." I'm like, "No, I want to do new burgers. It'll be back next January." And even for the month of February, that burger is going to be the Dragoon Jack or whatever. It's a crab rangoon, like a spicy crab rangoon style deconstructed, burger. If that's for like Chinese Lunar New Year, Year of the Dragon, doing kind of playing around with stuff like that, keep it fun and entertaining. So, yeah.
So when you're coming up with specialty burgers, I'm so interested in the inspiration. Like, do you start with a flavor profile in mind, or do you, like what you just said, like you wanted to do something for Chinese New Year? So it's like, okay, how do I reverse engineer that? Or like, I know for December you had the naughty and the nice burgers.
Yep, yeah.
Like, do you start with the concept and then reverse engineer it? Or do you start with, this is the flavor profile I'm really excited about, how can I work that in?
I think it's a little bit of both. A lot of it more is like I really like doing like I like wordplay, puns. As I'm slowly describing Bob's Burgers, and I like doing stuff like that. And so if there's something fun for the year or whatever, and then I kind of go like that way. Like my burger of the month in November was the Lumberjack burger, and it was more of like, it's like Lumberjack because it's now officially flannel season. And so then I'm like, okay, so what would a Lumberjack want? Well, they want a full meal on one burger, and so I just kind of play with that a little bit. Like in the month of March, we're going to do one that's like the Blue Jay Jack for the Creighton Blue Jays, March Madness, all that. And so then we're like, okay, we already know the name. Now what are we going to put on it? And so far it's going to be like a blueberry jam and ricotta cheese, type of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we're going to test. I still haven't gotten all the way down to try that out yet and whatnot, but it's kind of like from the research I've done. And I like to use, like, I'll mess with flavors and I'll get out the old Flavor Bible cookbook and kind of see like how stuff will mix and match. And sometimes you're even surprised. Like I threw raspberry jam on the jalapeno popper burger just because I was like, I didn't want to put ranch on there. And I was like, well, let me get something a little sweeter to go with it. So yeah, we went with a raspberry jam, and it honestly turned out like it's a perfect complement to something like that. So yeah.
That's actually, I wanted to bring that up because I think that is something that impresses me most about your burgers. And I've only had 2 of them, so I need to get back and have more. That's on me. But what I remember most, other than how well you do the smash patties, is the balance of sweet and savory, which normally you think of burger, it's like savory, hearty, meaty.
Yeah.
But you add just the right amount of sweetness. And just going to the Nomadic Jack burger itself, like, it's not hitting you over the head, but your signature mustard, it's not a honey mustard, but there's some sugar in there.
Oh, yeah.
You do the bread and butter pickles, so you've got a little bit of sweet in there, but then you've got, obviously, the burger savory. You've got that thick cut bacon, so you're getting just that right balance. How much do you think about that and take that into consideration as you're constructing a burger?
I mean, one of the things that, like, what I noticed over time when I would go to different restaurants and I try their sandwiches or their food, especially, like I say, because it's, you know, after a while I learned, I'm just a bar rat kid, you know, whatever. That's what, stay in your lane. I know what I was. Like, I mean, I even tried to go to fine dining restaurants in Chicago, and I was there with one of my best friends, and he was like, I have never seen you look so uncomfortable. And I was like, I don't know where to put my, like, you know, so I don't know where to use the right forks.
Put my hands.
Yeah, exactly. What do I do with my hands? Yeah. I just was like, so it's like, but one of my things of the staples that I like with sandwiches is I like bite consistency. You know, it's like, I want each bite to taste the same. And that's why, like, anytime somebody comes to Omaha and they're like, what should I eat? Whatever, I tell everyone to go to the Crescent Moon and get their Reuben. I think they have the best Reuben in Omaha, but it's because it's consistent. Whatever, each bite's like the same. So I try and think about that. And a lot of it, like, as I've been in millwork, because I operate out of the Clean Slate kitchen. Shout out to the Clean Slate guys. They've really helped me out a lot. And I'm always like, I'm usually end up there. I'm there late in the evening with Dylan, one of the owners of Clean Slate. And Dylan's always kind of helping me out. And he's always like, oh, you got another burger for me to sample? I'm like, yeah, man. Like, and I'll even annoy him with like, hey, I tried this. He's like, what did you change? I'm like, I don't know. You tell me. And so it's kind of like I get to be in a kitchen with a bunch of other great chefs, and they'll give me some feedback. And over time, I've kind of seen like what the balance is. But I just, I want each bite to taste great. I'm always just kind of looking for something that's going to please, like, my flavor, because that's all I can do. And then if I think it tastes good, it goes on the menu. If it doesn't, I don't put it on the menu. And it's pretty kind of like as simple as that. So
now you're also working for Clean Slate. You work Clean Slate during the day, and actually, let's stop. Let's define what Clean Slate is. Clean Slate is a meal delivery service that now has a cafe inside of Millwork Commons. So you're working for Clean Slate during the day and then doing Nomadic Jacks at night, correct?
So I used to. Yeah. I don't work for Clean Slate, like, in their kitchen doing prep stuff anymore.
Okay.
Whatever. Yeah. It was, that's how I got started. Was I was working for, it's a long story, how I got back to Omaha and all. I mean, I started working for Clean Slate a little under a year ago, just working part-time in their kitchen, like Thursday, Fridays. And then, and then slowly but surely they were like, cause I hadn't worked in a kitchen since like September of 2016, actually full time. I took a long break off doing other stuff, and which, allows you the time and to have the money to actually go test food and try it, eat at restaurants and travel. And so I started working there. I honestly forgot my lunch one day working at the bike shop, walked over there, and a friend of mine was a chef in the kitchen, and they're like, hey, we could use some part-time help. And then it was honestly after about a month or so, I kept talking about how I wanted to do some pop-ups. And, Dylan again, there was one day where I was getting frustrated and I was like, oh, I'm not going to do these pop-ups. And he's like, and literally 10 minutes later, he goes, hey, we're setting out the schedule for pop-ups. Pick your date. And I was like, and he goes, I don't want to hear it. Pick a date. And so I was like, okay. And so from there, I came back like, an hour later. I was like, I want to do a series of 5 weekends or 5 Saturdays throughout the spring. And so from there, it just kind of started there. And then I continued to work for them. And then in October, so after I won the Omaha Burger Battle, they let me take over the Bar Bites food in the kitchen. And then I switched to just doing the Nomadic Jack Burger Bar. And I was working for Heartland Bike Share, working for them. And then... yeah, and at the end of December or whatever, I decided to quit the Heartland Bike Share and do the burgers full time. So, yeah.
Okay, here we are. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to get back more into your origin story, but there's one other menu item that we have to talk about first. And I know that you're passionate about it, so I couldn't go this episode without talking about it.
Okay.
The currywurst.
Oh, man.
Tell me, first of all, explain what a currywurst is to people, because I think that's not a menu item or it's not something you see on a lot of menus in Omaha.
Yeah, not at all.
But holy cow, it should be if anyone makes it like yours. It's unbelievable. It's so good.
Yeah.
So what is it, and why did you feel like you've got this menu full of burgers, you got fried chicken, and then all of a sudden there's currywurst on there? Why did currywurst have to be on your menu?
So currywurst, man, I'm like, my mouth's watering just thinking about that currywurst. I went with my dad we went for 3 weeks to the Netherlands and Germany in September, October of 2022. So like 15 months ago. And everywhere we went, especially we mainly spent 2 weeks in Germany, whatever, we went to Cologne, the Black Forest, Stuttgart, we went to Augsburg and Berlin, and like every beer garden, it's going with your 70-year-old dad. You're going to drink beer, you're going to hang out, play cards, but like every single place they have currywurst there. And I did a little research, and it's like, so currywurst has a similar origin story to kind of the Reuben in Omaha, where it was one of those things where it was made from excess, kind of just like, they're like, hey, make me something different. And I don't remember the woman's name, but it was like in 1949, somebody wanted her to like, said, make me something different. And it was like she had brats, ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, and curry powder. And she whipped that up, and then like literally like every single place you go to, beer garden, they have a currywurst mit frites, with fries. And there was a place in Berlin because it started in Berlin, and there was a place in Berlin after talking to my Airbnb host that he's like, you got to go to this place called Curry 36, and it's a food stand. And you literally walk up there and you talk to them, say, I want a currywurst with fries. And in like less than 90 seconds, they've got one grilled up, chopped up, and they just slather it in the curry ketchup, and they give you fries and mayonnaise. And because of the volume they do it at, they're open until 5 a.m. It's like €5 for one of those. And you're not out the door. You're walking, you're standing next to the, the standing only section and eating your currywurst. And it's just, especially with like, especially with cross-train, the amount of like German beer influence they have with their menu, it just goes so well together. And those brats or whatever that, cause I get the brats I was going to try and make my own, but man, Stoisich House of Sausage on 24th Street, Ken in there, that German brat that they make, it's unreal. And I'm like, he even joked around. I asked him one day, and I was like, yeah, everyone keeps telling me to make my own. He goes, oh, it's not that hard. I'm like, oh, really, Ken? And he goes, yeah, it only took me like 70 years. I'm like, thanks, Ken. And it's like, so I just wanted to it's just one of those things. And if it's something that because part of what I want to do is like, I love to travel. I love to experience new food. I'm always talking, and generally like it's always about food. And I want to continue as I travel and go on my own food journey, is bring these dishes back that are little things and educate people and have them try different stuff. And if that gets one person to go try a trip to Germany or go to another restaurant or do something to try a new thing, like that's a win for me, because it's something I am truly passionate about. And I honestly, and then it's been funny because I made a video the other day about kind of describing the currywurst a little bit. And then I had 3 customers over the weekend that all said, they're like, no, I ordered that because of your video. And it's just like, oh man, cool. The social media is working. And, but they liked it.
Always good affirmation.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll give you more affirmation. Like people, his burgers are amazing. Go get a Nomadic Jack burger, special of the month, whatever burger you want to get. But the number one thing that I remember from trying your food the first time is I was really excited to try the burgers. I was into the fried chicken, and you made the currywurst, and I was kind of like, okay, I'll try this. And I came back to that like 5 or 6 times. I just kept snacking on it.
You were dipping your burger in the curry ketchup.
Because curry ketchup, you could bottle that tomorrow, and I would buy it by the bottle full. I mean, it's fantastic.
And it is a goal for us to try and bottle that and the mustard and sell it at some farmers markets.
Let's go.
So it's all just getting the little things lined up. But yeah, I mean, it's you're not wrong. And it's honestly, and what was fun, so I didn't do a pop-up from June 10th was my last pop-up, and I didn't operate the burger bar again until October 13th when I did my first Wednesday night. And even, shout out to Dylan again or whatever. Dylan was like, the currywurst is back, and it's just like, and I was just like, in my own, like myself, I was like, I haven't had it in a few months. And it is like, it's so darn good. And yeah, it's just every time cause I'll make one and just set it to the side. And then throughout the night, I'm just like piece by piece, just, oh man, they're so, because that ketchup, I'm like, what? Because everyone gets turned off. You think it's curry. You think it's going to be something super pungent and whatnot, but it's a little sweet. It's a little spicy. It's a little aromatic. Like, it's just, that stuff is, whew. Yeah, at some point, like I said, I'm going to do the Berlin Jack burger or whatever, and it's going to be like a split open currywurst, curry ketchup. Yeah, Munster cheese. Yeah, so it's like, but like I said, like you saying, like, how do I narrow down the menu? Because I did have a point where I'm like, oh, it's a big menu. Who cares? But me as one person, there was a moment like 2 weeks ago where I had one table ordered 6 burgers and they were all 6 different. And I'm just like, okay, this is getting to be a lot, you know, trying to keep it organized and opening up different cheeses and everything. But I mean, I did it, but it's, you know, as I can, like you said, it's a one-man show. And, you know, once I get some more business and I can actually have like a person or two to help me out full-time or part-time, then I can probably expand things and hone in on some other stuff. But right now it's just kind of like, you know, stick to what you can do well and, you know, keep executing that. So
how'd you get into cooking originally?
So honestly, it was my first job ever was working at my first job ever was working at Indian Creek Golf Course out in Elkhorn when I was 16, and I got told I wasn't going to be invited back the next year just because how just being a rambunctious 16-year-old. And then my cousin found a part-time job for me working for when Don Carmelo's was on 120th and Blondo way back in the day. And I just started kind of working in there and then worked in food all the way through college. And then it wasn't until I was like 25, 26 with that same cousin, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And he's like, you got to do food, man. I'm like, oh, no, I just do this to make some money. He's like, no, this is what you should do, you know? So then I just kind of, you know, dug in and then it was like, you know, and that was honestly like 10, 11 years ago. And now kind of here we are finally doing food full time. So it just takes a while.
Now, you got into the story a little bit about how Nomadic Jacks kind of came to be, and it was Dylan who really gave you that push. So once you finally committed and you said, I'm going to do these 5 or I think you said 5 Saturdays. Like, what were you feeling?
Oh my God.
Where was your mind at that point?
Roller coaster. Just because like the first, like, I mean, it's like you're like ideas are great. Practical applications are better, you know? And it was like, and it was fun. It was a rush going to do it. But like okay. So the night before or whatever, and I was prepping because it's really just me prepping. I had one person lined up to help. Go ahead.
And this is for your first brunch service, correct?
First brunch service.
This was April 15th, 2023.
Yes.
Go.
Yeah. First brunch service. And literally on the 14th, I'm like, oh, I got everything planned. It's going to go well. I'm doing all this. And I was in the kitchen till 2 a.m. I got home, and as soon as I showered, sat down, whatever, my brain just started going crazy. And I was like, okay, I'm only going to get 4 hours of sleep. Okay, I'm only going to get 3 hours of sleep. Okay, it'll be fine. I'm only going to get 2 hours of sleep. And just like literally just thinking about like the darkest thoughts or whatever. And then one of them a super dark thought creeped through my head. And I was just like, hey man, come on, you know? And it finally was like, oh, don't worry, you're ready. You know? So the next morning I went, and it's just nerve wracking. You're doing it on your own. And for, you know, like anybody trying to get their start, it's so easy to sit back and talk trash on other people's food when you're not doing it, you know, and then you put your own thing out there and you got to subject yourself to it. So it's an emotional roller coaster, but to like have those first, and it really, the early start was literally just friends and family coming in. And I knew like the first 2 weekends, it was just them, like, just coming in, supporting me. Like one of my buddies brought in his whole, you know, his parents and his sisters, and everyone came in, and that really would float me, you know, and help me out a lot. And especially like, I think, you know, Ben Farrell or whatever. Yeah. So I went to high school with Sam. Sam's one of my best friends.
Ben was one of the guys who gave me the push to come try it.
Yeah. And Ben and Sam or whatever, like, cause I would come in on like the Wednesday nights, cause I would be doing Saturday and then I do the following Wednesday for trivia night. Those guys floated me for a while, you know, helping me out with the burgers and everything. And so it's just really nerve wracking, you know, and then when I got busy, I took some time off for the College World Series. But yeah, sorry to get back to April 15th, it was a rush, you know, and it was that thing of like where you have so much anxiety, and then to be done at the end of the day after the first one and having all these people try burgers and literally just to see the reactions of people the first time, they're like, all right. And then to see them like, what is this mustard? Where do I get it? When can I buy it in stores? I'm like, it's, you know, secret ingredients, you know, so it's it was wild, you know. And then because then I was also working for Clean Slate. I was working for the bike shop, so I was working 4 10-hour days for the bike shop, you know, 16 to 20 hours over the Friday Saturday for Clean Slate, and then doing that full, I mean, it was an 18-hour day, the first one or whatever, straight through, you know. Like, and the second one I did on the 29th, I remember I sat down for 5 minutes, that was it, the whole day, and just go, man. And it's one of those things like, like the two of my mantras have always been like, it's like, how bad do you want it? Or whatever. And my answer is, you try and always say like, more than the next guy, because it takes hard work. It's not going to come easy, whatever. Nothing's going to come easy or whatever. You have to work for it. And then, when things are rough or whatever, I've always just kind of said like, hey, you asked for this, like, and no matter what, some point down the line, you put yourself here, whatever, in this position. And even as I've been, struggling in the month of January with getting bills paid and stuff like that, it's like, it's fine. It's like, this is the point where I can appreciate, this is the point where it's like, you're honing in your skills. You really figure out what's important and what you want to do. And you sure you want to do this? Whatever. It's like, do you want to work these long days, get no sleep, be stressed out, have like every day you're trying to learn a new skill that you have to do. And it's like, it's not going to stop, like I'm going to have a food truck, I could have, 5 years down the road, have some brick and mortars and everything. And it's like, you're constantly learning something new, but I'm in this for life with food or whatever. I love it. And there's not another industry I really want to be in, so.
Well, you had an Instagram post, I want to say it was a couple months ago, where you were talking about what it takes to have a pop-up. And you said the day before the pop-up, that's a 15-hour day, just doing prep, getting your mise en place and everything.
Yeah.
And then the day of the pop-up is an 18-hour day of cooking.
Yeah.
And I think most people, I would include myself in this, just have no idea.
Yeah.
How much work it is, how much prep, how much thought goes into it. So pull back the curtain for us a little bit. Like, tell us a little bit, like, I think part of the problem with the word pop-up is it just sounds so fun. Just like, a pop-up.
Oh my gosh, they're there for us.
You know what? I should go have a pop-up today.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it.
You know what? I'm going to sell some baked goods today. I'm like,
Yeah.
good luck, man.
So, no, pull back the curtain and explain why a pop-up is so much more than just
my
I'm
God.
popping up. It's a landslide.
Well, and even yeah, and like, it's like, as I'm learning about it, like, I am getting so much respect for people I've learned about in the past. And you see, like, I mean, it's not easy, because especially with operating within the confines of working in like the Clean Slate Kitchen, which like they help me out so much, but there's days where you go in there and you're prepped and you're not at 100%. Whatever, you're already dead tired. You're already stressed out about everything else going on in your life. And then you got a 15-hour day, and it'll be like, somebody moves something just because they needed to get to it. And you're like, where's this at? And it's like, you have all these little speed bumps, but it's just kind of, the way I've been approaching it is that whole thing. And I think I told you that like the first time we talked was like, it was like, where is a river going when a rock gets in front of it? It's going around, it's like, just keep moving forward. And it's like, and like I said, it's like, how bad do you want it? Is this like, if this is your start, if this is your thing, and I've been thinking about wanting to do this food stuff for so long and just wanting some sort of an opportunity, and you can't, it's like everybody wants to have their dream all gift wrapped and have it be nice and be all like, like, oh, I still want to get 8 hours of sleep. And I still want to make sure that, I want to go to the Super Bowl watch party or whatever, it's like, no, man, like you gotta make sacrifices and you got to get it done. But yeah, those 15-hour days, I mean, they really like, it's just, you got a list of stuff in front of you and you're either going to do it or you're not. And not once did I had a couple times where I might've had to remove a menu item or something where I was like, we're not going to prep this, this is just too long. And then, but other than that, I've been able to execute them and I haven't like, I mean, I'm sure there's a few people that have not liked my food or whatnot, maybe not their flavor, but I haven't made any, I don't make too many dishes wrong, haven't screwed anything up. And I'm, try to be really sensitive to people, especially with like allergy issues. And cause I myself have Crohn's disease. So I get what it means to have food that doesn't fit your body well, so yeah, it's just, like I said, it's just like even thinking about those, it's like, giving me PTSD. I'm like, oh man, it's like, I remember the war, so, and then it's like, and then I'm freaking out cause I'm a loud person and they're in there on Saturday trying to package their meals for delivery at Clean Slate. And I'm over there, wow, they're just cooking breakfast burritos and having fun. So I'm just like, thank you, Clean Slate folks, for putting up with me. So yeah, it's not bad.
Let's get into the Omaha Burger Battle because I know that this was huge for your confidence.
Oh God, yeah.
Just getting that awareness out there as a small pop-up. So for those who don't know, the Omaha Burger Battle it's a competition that's happened 2 consecutive summers now. I think they want to keep doing it between 6 to 8 burger restaurants / concepts.
Yeah.
each concept makes a bunch of slider versions of like their signature burger, and people come through and they get to try them all, and then they vote, and at the end of it, there's a winner announced, obviously.
Yeah.
And some of the competitors this year included Camp, Dundee Dell, Beersham Beer Garden. I mean, these are some really good burgers and some really well-known burgers and restaurants. But at the end of the day, the 2023 Omaha Burger Battle champion was this little pop-up called Nomadic Jacks that I'm guessing most people coming into that event did not know much about, if they'd heard of you at all. What do you remember most about that day?
Well, it honestly was a mental roller coaster, and it was just because so 2 weeks prior to that, I did Hutch Fest. We had Hutch Fest going on. I did brunch there. I didn't really do any burgers. That was a disaster, and it was just like, I didn't plan things well. I was having issues with getting some help to show up, whatever. It's just life happens, so it just didn't go well. I didn't get set up until like noon. It was 100 degrees that day. I couldn't get my square to work, so we were only cash. And it was a disaster, and I took a big loss, and I was like, I have Hutch Fest, and I'm doing the Omaha Burger Battle, and I'm done for the year. I was like, I'm like just gonna wrap it up, reset.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was done. And even like one of my friends in the kitchen or whatever, because she talked about like that week after. I mean, I just was like, I'm doing this on my own. I was Googling like one-man food stands, watching YouTube videos about guys in Singapore and Tokyo or whatever, just seeing like how do they do it one-man band style, because I was like, I'm done with this. Like I was like, I just got to reset. I was like, I know I'm not stopping, but I got to reset. And so then I'm literally done with the Hutch Fest, sitting there or whatever. And then I heard from the booth next to me, they're talking about the Burger Battle. And they're like, oh, good luck, whatever. It'll be a fun thing. So I was just like, I'm just doing this burger event and I'm done. And then that day, whatever, at the start of the Burger Battle, it was funny. My two helpers that are supposed to help me both didn't show up right away.
Oh, boy.
And so it was my mom and my dad helping me. And my dad's like, hey, is this burnt? I'm like, dude, if it's burnt, it's burnt. Just throw it away. I'm trying to run 3 stations, trying to get food out. My mom's telling everybody what my secret ingredients are, where I buy stuff. I'm like, Mom, shut up. It's like, stop telling them. And then like literally my help came and we got rolling. And it honestly, it was so great to see like all these people. They're like they're eating it. They're like, and I remember, I can't remember. There's husband and wife that were there. Sorry, I forgot you guys' name at this time, whatever. But they came and they're like, where are you at? Like, where can we get more of this? I'm like, I'm not anywhere. They're like, so when's your next event? I'm like, I don't have one, and I'm like, follow social media. We'll see if I get one or not. And just slowly but surely kept going. And it was like so nerve wracking because I decided to do a double burger. Even though it was sliders, I was like, I'm still going to do a little double burger. I was the only one that did that. And so it was from 4 to 8, and at like 7 p.m., I noticed nobody else was eating at any other burger stalls, and I had a line of like 50 people, and I'm like, what is going on? And they're like, no, they're waiting for your food. And I'm like, is everybody else sold out, or like what's going on? And some of them sold out. Other ones were like, they just had already tried it, and they're like, everyone's seeing these, brioche bun, double little smash burgers come out. And so I was just like, okay. And I was even taking orders up until they announced who the winner was. I was still I was still like, cause I'm like, man, I got the extra food or whatever. I'll still make them for everybody. And then, and it was kind of funny. Like they announced it and they said, well, second place is going to was Muchachos, cause they were there and they had a little elote smash burger and they got second. And as soon as I said they got second, I knew that I won. I just had a feeling or whatever. And a lot of my parents' friends were there. And it was a really cool moment for like the people that have supported me from here on out to like see that. And then we literally won. And then I went down to Lincoln to go work in Lincoln for the game day. And I got a phone call at like 5 p.m. that was like, hey man, do you want to take over the burger bar and do this from here on out? You got some momentum going. I was like, cool, here we go, So I was just ready to wrap it up and figure out some pop-up stuff, and then got that opportunity, and it's one of those things where they say, people can be lucky and whatnot, but like luck is, what is it? Luck is just opportunity meets action type thing or whatever. And it was like, hey man, take that opportunity and run with it. So here I am.
Well, you mentioned your confidence was pretty shaken at that point.
It was broken.
So what did that do for you? What did that day do?
Oh, it was night and day. I mean, it was just to see some validation, and it more was about like, it was more about just seeing the proof in the pudding and seeing your hard efforts, you know, actually come to fruition, and seeing people enjoy your food. And literally that moment of like just seeing people being like, what is this? You know, what are you doing to this burger? And even one of the other competitors or whatever, I knew they were a little upset that I won, because it's like some guy walks in or whatever, and so your competition and your event, and you're like, how did they win? And you see, and I did have a bunch of, like, my parents had some friends there, I had some aunts and uncles there, and they're probably thinking we rigged the ballot or did something, you know. And I, at the very end, because I even told the staff, I was like, I still got more burger. I cooked food till 9 p.m. You know, everyone's wrapped up going. I still was cooking burgers. So anybody, the staff wanted a burger, here you go. And so I took one over to one of the other competitors, and it was like my perfect satisfaction, just because the guy tried it and he's like, okay, you know, and they took another bite and he's like, all right, damn, man, that's a good burger. And I was like, thank you. You know, so it was just kind of like, it's just those things of like, you know, just kind of take some of your worries away, and you got to kind of, you know, you got to believe in yourself a little bit. And it was just, just reset and move forward, you know? And so, but no, my confidence was definitely like broken then or whatever. That beat me up pretty bad. So, but hey, you know, like it's just, that's part of the journey, you know? And that's like, you know, I'm a big sports fan. I was a, you know, college athlete, and I, you know, I was a discus thrower in track and field in college, and you get 3 throws in the prelims and 3 throws in the final. And I always enjoyed like those moments where you barely snuck into the finals, and then you'd have a throw to just come out of nowhere and you'd win it, you know. And it was always just, I like that thing. And it's like, you know, you're not out till, you know, and I like MMA stuff or whatever, you know, I'm a big mixed martial arts fan or whatever. And it's like, you're not out of it till the very end, you know, so just, you know, keep moving forward. So
now, you know, when we're talking about a pop-up, especially one that's not operating in an area of town that is like we talked about, millwork is coming.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not blown up yet.
Not yet.
So you're operating in a place that's a little bit outside of the normal food sphere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can get a lot of business through word of mouth, and you can do what you can through social media.
Yeah.
But at some point, you kind of need a spark that kind of gets the general public excited and being like, what is this thing? And I feel like that's kind of what the Omaha Burger Battle was for you. You had a really good thing going, but you know, you need something that just lights that fire and it kind of gives you a megaphone to just shout out your message.
Oh yeah.
Do you see the Burger Battle as that for you?
Oh, definitely. And it is like, it's all how you view it, you know, whatever. Like the Omaha Burger Battle, it's just a fun event where people are just trying to make smash burgers and whatnot. But to me, it did mean a lot because, you know, when I lived in Chicago for 5 years, Chicago's a city of endless food. You know, that city's incredible. But everyone would always be like, oh, go try this burger, go try this burger. And I'd be like, man, I can get some better burgers back in Omaha. And I truly do think Omaha is a burger town. You know, and it always kind of has frustrated me that we don't really have a food identity. You know, we don't, like Kansas City has barbecue, you know, it's like other cities, you know, they have their thing that they do, and we don't really have something that's like, this is what, and we got steakhouses, you know, and we're the land of beef. So why are we not like a burger city? Why are people not stopping for the best burgers in the country along I-80? And so, like, I would always tell people, I can get a better burger in Omaha, blah, blah, blah. So for myself to go in there and actually put out the best burger, you know, attempt number 1 was a big confidence thing. And I loved it. And it was like, and I do think it's fun to lay claim to having Omaha's best burger. And you know, and it'd be fun if I won that event, but then I'm putting out just a dry, unseasoned burger on the regular day to day. But I've been able to keep up, and I'm still delivering a consistent product. And I'd love for people to come down and, you know, if you don't like my burger, that's fine, but you can't deny that it's a great smash burger, you know, and there's no way that, like, yeah, for the most part, like what do you not like about it? You know, like, it's like what, then like, I'm almost like, if you're going to tell me it's terrible, then I want to see you do it better, you know? So like, let's see, challenging, you know, let's see it. And I'm excited for next year's Burger Battle. And I hope some more restaurants come in, and I hope some more compete, and I want to have fun with it, you know, and I'm a natural, you know, trash talker, want to have fun, keep it clean or whatever. And it's like, why? Like, there's no harm in it, you know, but we're a burger city or whatever. We should highlight these things. And, you know, and because there are so many great burgers in Omaha, but, you know, I'd say I want to be the best, you know. It's just, I'm not going to deny it, you know, that like, that's what I want to do. And I want to put out a great product. And it's more about, you know, and it's like my cheesy kitchen, my restaurant motto is, people are our passion, food is our medium. you know, and it's like, I'm just using food to get to people, and I want to serve to people because it's that whole environment of like when I would manage Fatso's in Chicago. I was open till 4 a.m. and people would come in from the neighborhood and like bring their friends just because, you know, you joke around, you make them feel good, you have a good time, and then you serve them like a wonderful juicy burger or a beautiful, you know, grilled Chicago hot dog. And it's like, it's just about like, because like, why are we doing it? You know, like, why are we doing this? Whatever. I'm trying to just get to people. And that's why I think that I serve like, you know, blue collar food. I want to serve food for every man. You know, I'm not trying to serve exclusive food, or you got to be in some club, or you got to shell out hundreds of dollars to just have a little bit of my food. I'm like, no, man, like come down, just get a burger and some waffle fries, you know, enjoy it, have a beer at Cross Strain. And then eventually the goal is to get to a food truck doing late night brunch and breakfast. You know, I want to be able to actually have late night food in downtown Omaha and bring some of that back to Omaha. So,
gosh, you just segued perfectly into it, because I wanted to ask you about the future of Nomadic Jacks.
Yeah.
And this is something, you know, you were just talking about even just a couple months ago. You thought you weren't going to be doing any more pop-ups this year. You were going to be shutting it down, and your business model shifted completely. So even as I ask you this, your answer today could completely change in 2 months.
Yep.
But as of today, when you look at the future of Nomadic Jacks and what you want it to be, you're talking about a late night food truck. Is that kind of the vision right now?
Yeah, that's still. Overall, that's still the goal, whatever, is because I want to be able to be mobile, whether it's doing a food truck or a food trailer or whatever. But I want to bring some late night food back to Omaha first and foremost, whatever. We lack that, whatever. I know. Thank you to Zaytuna for actually having a consistent food truck.
Zaytuna is amazing.
Yeah,
I love those dudes.
And those dudes are out there. They made their name. We're doing it late night food, serving the people. Even like last December, I went there and like 15, you know, it's like 20 degrees and windy or whatever. They're still there serving food, you know? So like I hope to be out there with them here like this upcoming summer, but I want to just do that. And then I want to be able to be mobile and do some other events. There's so many fun events there in Omaha that we can do, and just having some good food at it. But the goal is to get to the food truck, but really it's kind of, the whole thing of like, you know, you have to be malleable, whatever, you know, you gotta adapt and survive. And so right now, like, you know, I didn't plan that I'd be doing a burger, you know, pretty much a semi-permanent burger pop-up inside of a beautiful building or whatever right now 4 nights a week, you know, and now it's about to be 5 nights and potentially 6 nights with some events on Sundays. So I'm just kind of like, we're just going forward, you know, and you know, going to the farmer's market and seeing like selling jam or selling mustard and all that. So just kind of, I'm interested to see where it goes, but right now, whatever, it's trying to move forward with getting the food truck, being mobile. And a lot of it, as any restaurateur knows, any entrepreneur knows, it's going to depend on who I can get to help me, because I am a one-man show right now. If you come into Cross Strain, your food sometimes might take a little while, whatever, but it's because you're literally seeing me make it and run it across the hall.
It's made to order.
Yes, it's made to order, and I'm sprinting it across the hall. And even like I had a guy on Saturday that was in there that he's like, "Are you the one back there making it?" I'm like, "Hey," he goes, "Oh my God, I was in here last night and saw you sprinting back and forth." I'm like, "No, this is what I'm doing, man." You know, that's why I'm like, do smash burgers, man. I can't, because you'll get a customer that'll be like, "Hey, can I get a side?" You're like, yeah. You know, and then still just running back and forth and doing it. So if I can get some help over time, you know, things will move along quicker. But right now it's just kind of, you know, enjoying the ride a little bit. And, you know, I may be stressed, I may be tired about doing things, but it's like, this is the start, you know, this is where it's the whole, like, it's just where it's building to. So
I love your story so much.
Thank
you. I love just from afar, and now as I've gotten to know you a little bit better and do this podcast, getting to hear your passion behind it. It is so exciting to see how far you've come in such a short amount of time, and I can't wait to see where you go. So listeners, people who are watching this, follow Nomadic Jacks on social media. You're on Facebook as well, right?
Yep,
Facebook and Instagram, because this guy is making moves. You're going to hear more about this. I can pretty much guarantee you. So get down to Cross Strain right now. We didn't even talk about the fried chicken. Your fried chicken is ridiculous.
Yeah.
The currywurst is awesome. But just go.
Or the 3 a.m. Jack Burger, the breakfast burrito.
Yes, the 3 a.m. Jack Burger is basically a Crunchwrap Supreme, but with smash burgers inside of it instead of ground beef, which is, we can't even get into that. We don't have time for it.
Next time.
Yes, next time. Jack, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been
thank you
so
for
cool to
having
hear
me.
your story.
Dude, very much. Thank you so much. And yeah, come on out, support me. You know, we're trying to do some good things. If you want to actually support somebody that's actually a local person trying to make their name, you know, it's like, I'd take it. If you don't, go support somebody else, you know. I mean, it's like we got a lot of really great chefs in Omaha that are trying to do some great things, and I'm really excited for what Omaha has here in the future. So
Omaha, go see this guy.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for eating with us.
Thank you, Dan. Really appreciate it.